Have you ever felt like pain and suffering just keep coming back into your life, no matter how hard you try to escape them? Do you find yourself stuck in cycles of emotional turmoil, unsure of how to break free? If you've been struggling with these feelings, this video is exactly what you need to watch until the end. In this video, we'll explore the transformative power of pain and how it can be the key to unlocking your greatest potential. Pain is not your enemy. It's a powerful tool that, when embraced, can fuel your personal growth, wisdom, and strength. You'll discover how to stop being a prisoner of your emotions and use your advantage. We'll explore how understanding the impermanence of pain and embracing it can change the way you experience life. You'll learn practical steps to break free from your past suffering and how you can turn your wounds into wisdom. The truth is, the most resilient people in the world didn't become strong by avoiding hardship, they became strong by learning from it. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to transform your pain into power. Don't miss out on this life-changing journey. Watch until the end, and you'll discover a path to emotional freedom and true transformation. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Imagine the overwhelming weight of losing your job. It's not just a paycheck that's gone, it's your sense of security, your routine, your self-worth, and perhaps even your belief in yourself. Now, picture someone who faces this devastating loss and holds on tightly to their anger and frustration. They blame the company, feel deeply wronged, and begin to define their entire existence by that one painful event. If they allow this bitterness to consume them, they will remain stuck in that moment, carrying that wound into every future job they encounter and into every relationship and opportunity that crosses their path. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? But here's where the power lies. If they choose to let go of the anger, if they choose to embrace what happened with open arms and ask themselves, what can I do with this? Then something incredible happens. They reclaim their power. They stop reacting and start living with purpose, with intention. The pain they felt becomes a force for transformation, not a chain that keeps them bound. That's the key to freedom. It's all about your perception. I've seen it time and time again. Those who choose to embrace their pain, not resist it, are the ones who rise above. Carl Jung spoke often about integrating every part of our experience, the good, the bad, and yes, the painful. He was right. When we stop fighting our suffering, when we stop running from it, it has the potential to transform into something far more beautiful, wisdom, real, deep wisdom that can only come from the very pain we once tried so desperately to escape. Here's the truth that can shake us all to our core. We often believe our suffering is uniquely ours, that no one could understand the depth of what we're going through. We think that our pain is somehow more unbearable than anyone else's, but that's simply not true. Pain is an intrinsic part of the human experience. Every single one of us suffers at some point. What sets those who grow apart from those who remain stuck is not the level of pain they've endured, but how they choose to relate to it. Those who fight against their pain become its prisoners. Those who accept it, who learn from it, grow from it. They evolve. If you truly want to heal, if you truly desire freedom, the very first step is to stop waging war against life. You must accept what has happened, even if it feels unfair or impossible. You have to accept what you cannot change. You must surrender to what already is. And from that place of acceptance, you can turn your energy toward what you can change. That's the most empowering shift you can make in your life. And here's the shocking revelation that no one ever tells you about liberation from suffering. Most of your pain didn't come from the event itself. The heartbreak of a relationship ending, the betrayal, the missed opportunity they didn't create, the endless suffering. It was your refusal to let go of that pain, your attachment to it, that kept you trapped. The more tightly you held on to the pain, the more it grew, and the longer it kept you stuck in the past. Let me say this as clearly as I can. It wasn't the event that caused the pain, it was how tightly you held on to the story you created about it. When you finally let go of resistance, when you stop fighting the reality of what is, that's when the suffering begins to crumble. This doesn't mean the pain disappears instantly, but it loses its grip on you. Over time, the pain shifts. It transforms into a lesson, one you can carry forward with you. It doesn't have to be a lifelong burden. It becomes part of your past, not your present. Now, let's dive even deeper. This is the part where many people get stuck without ever realizing it. Your unconscious mind plays a huge role in keeping you trapped in suffering. Once you understand that suffering is born from resistance, you have to ask yourself, if I know this, why do I keep repeating the same emotional patterns over and over again? Why does it feel like I can't break free from the same cycles of pain? And this is where everything begins to change. Because once you uncover the hidden answer to that question, you'll realize something truly powerful. You have far more control over your life than you ever imagined. This is the breakthrough. The moment when you understand the true nature of your suffering, you begin to see that you are not bound by it. You are not defined by it. You have the power to break the cycle. So, stay with me. In the next section, we're going to uncover something truly life-changing. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Your mind has been unconsciously conditioned to hold on to suffering, and the most profound realization is this: the power to break free from this pattern lies in your hands. Let's face a hard truth that very few people are willing to acknowledge. Your unconscious mind is programmed to make you suffer over and over again. If you've ever felt like pain just keeps showing up in your life, as if suffering is some kind of bad luck that follows you around like a shadow, it's time to wake up. It's time to confront a truth that's difficult to digest, but will set you free. You are the one repeating your pain, again and again, without even realizing it. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because your unconscious programming is pulling you back into the same emotional loops, without you even being aware of it. Carl Jung, a psychologist whose work has revolutionized how we understand the human mind, put it powerfully when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This statement is both eye-opening and confronting. It reveals that the pain you keep experiencing is not some random act of bad luck, nor is it the universe punishing you. Life is not being cruel to you for no reason. It's not that you're cursed or doomed. The painful truth is that deep inside your subconscious mind, there are emotional and mental patterns running on autopilot. These patterns, which you've absorbed throughout your life, are like hidden programs that keep running, guiding your choices and actions. Jung's insight helps explain why you keep reliving the same pain over and over. Your unconscious mind isn't concerned with whether or not you're happy. It's only concerned with what's familiar to you. If love in your childhood was always followed by pain, if abandonment was a constant theme, if safety was something you could never count on, then these experiences became your emotional blueprint. You didn't choose these beliefs consciously, they were imprinted on you. And now, they're controlling your emotional life. Here's the shocking part. No one ever tells you this. The unconscious mind doesn't care about your well-being. It only cares about maintaining familiarity. So, even when your conscious mind wants to escape suffering, a deeper, more powerful part of you keeps attracting the same types of people, the same toxic situations, and the same destructive emotional outcomes. It's not bad luck, nor is it some cosmic conspiracy against you. It's a pattern. It's the invisible trap of the unconscious at work. Have you ever wondered why you always end up in relationships that hurt you? Why do you experience moments of joy or success only to ruin or lose them unexpectedly? Why do you keep running into the same issues even after you swear things will be different this time? It's not a coincidence. That's your subconscious mind repeating what it knows best. That's emotional self-sabotage happening right before your eyes. But here's the million-dollar question. Why would anyone consciously choose what destroys them? The answer lies in what you learned as a child. If you grew up learning that love was always accompanied by pain or abandonment, then as an adult, you will unconsciously seek out relationships that mirror that emotional experience. Not because you want to suffer, but because your nervous system knows this version of love. It's what feels familiar to you. In the mind's twisted logic, familiar equals safe, even if it hurts. It's heartbreaking but empowering to realize that this pattern is not your destiny. You don't have to remain a prisoner to this unconscious script. The first step to breaking free is becoming aware of it. You can rewrite this story. You can learn to recognize the emotional patterns running through your mind and break them once and for all. And the moment you do, you begin to reclaim your power, no longer allowing unconscious conditioning to dictate your life. If you experienced rejection, humiliation, or neglect during your childhood, the pain of those experiences can haunt you well into adulthood. You may find yourself avoiding new opportunities, relationships, or dreams, not because you lack desire, but because a part of you is terrified that the same pain will come back. It's as if you've been conditioned to stay in your comfort zone, even if that comfort zone is painful, because the fear of the unknown, the fear of more hurt, outweighs the hope for something better. And here's the part that hits hardest. As long as you remain unaware of these patterns, you will continue to live them for the rest of your life, believing it's just your fate, just how things are meant to be. You might ask yourself, why do I always end up with the same kind of person? Why does my life never really change? Why does everything always go wrong for me? The truth, however, is not that life is punishing you, that fate is against you, or that the universe is conspiring to make things hard. The reality is much more powerful, and it's something you may not want to hear. It's you. It's you reenacting the emotional script that was written inside of you long ago, often without your awareness. So, how do you break free from this unconscious pattern of suffering? Here's the key. You cannot change what you cannot see. If you truly want to end this cycle of emotional pain, the first step is to recognize the pattern you've been unconsciously living. You need to bring it into the light. Ask yourself the tough questions. What has been the dominant emotion in my life? Rejection, abandonment, betrayal, frustration, fear. What kinds of relationships or situations do I keep attracting? What story am I telling myself about who I am and what the world is? When you take the time to answer these questions truthfully, something incredible will happen. You'll realize that the suffering you've been enduring hasn't been caused by the outside world, by others, or by circumstances beyond your control. It's been coming from within you, your fears, your unresolved pain, your repeated patterns. You've been projecting that suffering onto the world, time and time again, without even realizing it. And that's the exact moment when everything begins to change. Breaking the cycle of emotional pain doesn't mean you'll never experience sadness, anger, or frustration again. Those emotions are a natural part of being human. But it does mean you'll no longer be a prisoner to a hidden pattern that's controlling you without your knowledge. Once you become conscious of your unconscious programming, you stop being its slave. You may not be able to avoid all pain in life, but you can stop recycling it. You can stop perpetuating it. You can stop choosing it without even realizing you're doing so. From that moment on, you start choosing consciously rather than reacting on autopilot. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. In the next section, we'll go even deeper. We'll explore how the ego plays a central role in keeping you trapped in suffering and how you can begin dismantling its power. Because once you understand the role of the ego in all of this, that's when you begin to reclaim your power, your peace, and your freedom. It's a pivotal moment. Your awakening begins here. Let's talk about the ego. The ego thrives on your suffering. It feeds off your pain, keeping you stuck in emotional turmoil. If you're truly committed to breaking free from the patterns that continuously hurt you, then there's something essential you need to understand. Your ego is your biggest obstacle on the path to healing. The ego is that inner voice that convinces you that you have every right to feel hurt, that life isn't fair, and that others need to change before you can find happiness. It whispers stories like, "I'm always the victim," or "nothing ever works out for me." It gives you reasons to stay stuck in your pain, to stay resentful, to hold on to your suffering as though it's a part of you. But here's the brutal truth. The ego doesn't want you to heal. Because if you healed, if you truly let go of your suffering, the ego would lose its identity. It would no longer have anything to feed on. The ego thrives on conflict, on blame, on judgment, on the illusion of separation. It creates drama just to keep itself alive. It tells you that your pain is proof that you're right and the world is wrong, that you're justified in your resentment, that you must hold on to your wounds. But when you begin to see the ego for what it truly is, a defense mechanism, a mask, a survival strategy, you can start to disarm it. You can begin to step into a deeper version of yourself, one that no longer needs to cling to pain to feel real, one that doesn't need to repeat the past to feel safe. Healing, as Carl Jung profoundly stated, is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Jung once said, "The mind that creates the problem is not the same mind that can solve it." This simple yet profound truth holds the key to our suffering. The part of you that caused your pain is not capable of healing it. And that part is your ego. The ego is not just a voice in your head, it is the filter through which you perceive everything. Unfortunately, it's the same ego that created your pain in the first place. So when you try to heal from within the ego, all you end up doing is reinforcing the exact suffering you're trying to escape. So, how does the ego sabotage your emotional healing? The ego is cunning. It doesn't outright say, "I want you to suffer." Instead, it whispers convincing reasons why you should continue holding on to your pain. It will remind you, over and over again, of everything that was done to you, how you were betrayed, how life was unfair, how people abandoned you. It recycles these memories like a looped film reel, making you believe that thinking about them constantly gives you some sort of power. In truth, this only keeps you trapped. It keeps you stuck in the same cycle of pain, in the same emotional prison that the ego has built for you. One of the most dangerous tricks the ego plays is making you identify with your suffering. It convinces you that your pain is who you are. Without realizing it, you begin to define yourself by the lens of your past wounds. You start saying things like, "I'm always betrayed, people always leave me, this always happens to me." And each time you say it, each time you think it, you carve that identity deeper into your psyche. You unknowingly become loyal to your pain. The ego will also try to convince you that the problem lies outside of you. It tells you that your pain is someone else's fault, that life owes you something, that your circumstances need to change before you can feel okay again. This is the perfect trap, because if the solution is always external, you never have to take ownership of your healing. You remain in a state of waiting for an apology, for justice, for someone to save you. And as long as you're waiting, you're not moving forward. You're not evolving. You're stuck. The ego feeds on conflict, comparison, and old wounds that never quite heal, because the ego keeps scratching at them, making them bleed again. It thrives when you dwell on what went wrong. It keeps you in a cycle of self-pity, resentment, and blame. It convinces you that you are powerless, and this is where the trap of victimhood begins. One of the most subtle and dangerous ways the ego keeps you weak is through the identity of the victim. When you fall into victimhood, you start believing that everything bad that happens to you is because of others, other people, bad luck, or cruel fate. While it might feel like you're protecting yourself by blaming the outside world, what you're doing is surrendering your power. Because if you believe you have no control over your life, you will never take the steps necessary to change it. And that's exactly what the ego wants, to keep you small, defenseless and suffering. But here comes the harshest truth of all. No one is coming to save you. No matter how much you cry, no matter how many times you blame others, no matter how loudly you complain, no one is going to rescue you. The only person who can break this cycle is you. You have the power to disarm the ego, to free yourself from its grasp. The choice is yours to make, and it begins with taking responsibility for your healing. You don't need anyone to come and save you, only you can do that. So, how do you dismantle the ego and regain control over your life? The first and most crucial step is recognizing that you are not your ego. You are not your suffering. You are not your past. You are not that inner voice telling you that you'll always be a victim of life's unfairness. The ego wants you to cling to your pain because it thrives on it. That pain is the very fuel that keeps it alive. But the moment you stop feeding it, the ego begins to lose its grip on you. It starts to weaken, and in that moment, something incredible begins to happen. You start to awaken. This is where your true power begins to shine through. No longer a prisoner of your past or the false stories the ego tells. You begin to step into your authentic self, the version of you that's been waiting for the chance to break free. There are 3 powerful ways to start breaking the ego's grip on you. 1. Observe the voice in your head. When the ego starts reminding you of your wounds, when it tries to convince you that life is unfair, pause. Don't react. Just observe. Realize that the voice you're hearing is not you. It's just a mental program, a repeating pattern, a recording that keeps playing on loop. It's not your truth. The more you observe this voice without identifying with it, the more control you'll regain. The ego loses its power the moment you stop letting it dictate your emotions and actions. 2. Stop feeding the story of suffering. Every time you replay the story of how you were wronged, every time you talk about your pain to anyone who will listen, you are reinforcing that wound. You're giving it more power. You're keeping it alive. So, ask yourself, does this story empower me, or does it weaken me? If it weakens you, let it go. Stop rehearsing your pain. Stop reliving the same trauma over and over again, and permit yourself to move beyond it. The story does not define you. You have the power to rewrite it. 3. Do the opposite of what the ego wants. The ego wants you to react. It wants you to lash out, to hold grudges, to stay angry. It wants you to stay stuck in a cycle of bitterness and resentment. But when you respond with calm, with detachment, with acceptance, you disarm the ego. You take back your power. The moment you begin to see the ego for what it truly is, a defense mechanism, a false identity built on pain, and fear its control begins to crumble. You stop feeling the need to hold on to your pain. You stop needing outside validation. You stop identifying as a victim of your circumstances. And in that clarity, you realize something profoundly empowering. The suffering never truly came from what happened to you. Yes, the pain was real and it was deep, but the real trap was the story the ego built around that pain. That is what kept you trapped. Once you recognize this, you free yourself from its grip. You see that you are not the sum of your wounds. You are the sum of your ability to heal, to grow, and to become the best version of yourself. This is where your power lies. By stopping the ego from controlling you, you reclaim your life, your peace, and your future. Now, we move to one of the most transformative truths about emotional healing. Pain doesn't go away by fighting it. It begins to dissolve when you embrace it in a completely different way. This is the part no one teaches us. From a young age, we're conditioned to avoid pain at all costs. Don't cry, be strong, don't show weakness. So we learn to repress it, deny it, and run from it. But here's the powerful truth. What you resist persists. The more you try to suppress emotional pain, the more power it gains over you. It doesn't just disappear. Instead, it buries itself deep within your mind, in your body, and your behaviors. It becomes chronic anxiety. It manifests as unexplainable anger, It leads to numbness and emotional detachment. And the more you refuse to feel it, the deeper it roots itself in your subconscious mind, poisoning your emotional well-being. Carl Jung understood this profound concept better than anyone. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You cannot heal by ignoring your pain. You must face it completely, honestly, and without resistance. Think of pain like a force. When you push against it, it pushes back. That's why when you try to escape emotions like sadness, grief, or rage, they only become more intense. You tell yourself not to cry, not to feel, not to break down. You distract yourself with work, social media, or anything that keeps you from sitting with yourself. But when you're finally alone, when the noise dies down, the pain floods back even stronger. You blame others. You blame life. You convince yourself that the pain is their fault. But as long as you keep projecting your pain outward, you will never look inward. And that's where the healing truly begins. It's not the pain that destroys us. It's the resistance to the pain that makes it unbearable. So, what's the key to breaking the cycle of suffering? It's acceptance. Stop running. Allow yourself to feel fully, consciously, without judgment. If you're sad, cry. If you're angry, sit with the anger. Don't act on it impulsively, but don't deny it either. Watch the emotion. Witness it. Feel it move through your body, and something extraordinary will happen. When you stop resisting pain and begin welcoming it as a natural part of being human, it begins to lose its grip on you. Here's the most beautiful truth of all. Nothing lasts forever. Every emotion, no matter how intense, is temporary. Every wave of suffering will pass if you allow it to. But when you resist it, when you cling to the story of your pain, you stretch the suffering far beyond what's necessary. Healing doesn't happen in the future. It happens in the now, in the moment. You decide to stop running from yourself and start embracing everything you are, wounds and all. That's when true transformation begins. Carl Jung spoke deeply about the importance of inner transformation, and one of the central truths of that journey is the understanding of impermanence. Nothing lasts forever, neither joy nor pain. Everything is in constant motion. Just like pleasure, pain is temporary. It does not define you, and it is not eternal. Think back to the last time you went through a difficult moment. At that time, it may have felt like you were trapped in a storm that would never end. You may have felt hopeless, exhausted, as though you'd never escape. But somehow, you did. You made it through. And the same thing will happen with whatever pain you're going through now. This too shall pass. The storm will calm, and the sun will rise again. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. So, how do we begin to radically accept pain instead of being consumed by it? How do we stop being slaves to our suffering? There are steps you can begin to practice right now, powerful tools to reclaim your emotional freedom and step into your inner strength. First, stop judging your pain. Don't label it. Don't overanalyze it. Don't ask yourself, why am I feeling like this? Or when will this end? Instead, simply allow yourself to feel without resistance, without shame, without the need to create a story around it. It isn't good or bad. It's simply an experience moving through you. That's all it is. Second, observe it in your body. When you feel anxiety, anger, grief, or sorrow, don't let your mind spin elaborate narratives about how unfair life is or how broken you are. Instead, bring your attention back to your body. Ask yourself, where do I feel this emotion? How does it physically show up inside me? Maybe it's a tight chest, a lump in your throat, trembling hands, or a knot in your stomach. Just notice it. Observe it without trying to fix or fight it. Third, breathe through it. Instead of clenching your jaw, tightening your fists, or distracting yourself, try this. Take a deep breath and then another. Let the breath move through the emotion. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to make the pain disappear. Your only job is to be present with what is fully present. And something incredible will happen when you do this. When you stop resisting pain and start welcoming it with awareness, you'll realize that it has no power over you. The pain might still be there, but its grip on you begins to fade. You're no longer a victim. You become someone who can move through pain with strength, with maturity, and with grace. This is your true power, not in control, not in resistance, but in acceptance. Most people spend their entire lives running from pain, distracting themselves, avoiding the uncomfortable, escaping through addictions, through work, through denial. But the only real way to free yourself from suffering is to face it directly, consciously, with an open heart. And when you do that, when you stop fighting and allow yourself to truly feel, something miraculous happens. You discover that pain was never your enemy. Suffering didn't come to destroy you. It came to awaken you, to shape you, to transform you. And once you understand this, the fear begins to dissolve. So now, let's dive deeper, because once you stop resisting pain, you can use it, not just to heal, but to evolve in ways you never imagined. This is where true transformation begins. You can turn your pain into power. This is the alchemical process of healing. By now, you understand that resisting pain only makes it stronger, that avoiding it makes the wounds deeper, and that accepting it is the first step toward freedom. But there's something even more extraordinary you can do. You can transform your suffering into your greatest source of strength. Carl Jung, who understood this truth better than anyone, spoke of the ancient art of alchemy, not as the literal transformation of lead into gold, but as a psychological and spiritual journey. The true alchemy happens within us. The lead is our pain, our deepest wounds, our fears, our traumas. The gold is what we become when we embrace that pain and allow it to refine us. Wisdom, strength, maturity, compassion. These are the gifts on the other side of suffering. So, the real question isn't, how can I avoid suffering? The real question is, how can I use my suffering to become stronger, wiser, freer? This is the hidden power of pain. It's a call to awaken. Think about the strongest people you've ever known, those with depth, insight, and a quiet courage that radiates from their presence. They didn't get there because they had easy lives. They didn't become who they are by avoiding hardship. No, they walked through fire. They were broken open, and on the other side, they were reborn. Every experience of pain is a crossroads, a sacred invitation. You can let it close you down, or you can let it open you up. You can let it define you, or you can let it refine you. It's the choice to stop being who you were and to become someone entirely new, more awake, more resilient, more deeply connected to life. Carl Jung once spoke about something called the night of the soul, a phase where an individual comes face to face with their deepest suffering. It's a period of intense, emotional, and spiritual turmoil, where it feels like the foundation of your world is collapsing. You feel like you've reached your limit, like the weight of life is simply too much to bear. The pain becomes overwhelming, suffocating even. But Jung didn't describe this moment as a punishment. He saw it as a sacred opportunity, an invitation to transformation, a test, not of your strength, but of your willingness to evolve. Because it is precisely when everything seems lost, when you think you can't go on, that you are standing on the edge of your greatest breakthrough. Now imagine that instead of resisting this darkness, you paused and asked yourself, what is this trying to teach me? How can I use this pain not to collapse but to rise? In that moment, something powerful happens. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the alchemist of your own life. You begin to transform destruction into rebirth. From the ashes, a new version of you is forged, stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your true self. Each time you've gone through loss, betrayal, heartbreak, or deep disappointment, something within you has died. But what most people don't realize is that this death is necessary. It's the death of illusions, the end of false expectations, the dismantling of identities that no longer serve your growth. And what follows every death is a chance for rebirth, a sacred opportunity to rebuild yourself from a deeper place of truth. If you take a moment to reflect on your life, you'll likely notice that the experiences that shaped you the most were not the happiest ones. It was the struggles, the hardships, the times you were pushed to your edge and somehow found the strength to move forward. That is the essence of transformation. Pain, in its purest form, breaks you apart. It shatters the beliefs you held about yourself, the world, and others. It forces you to look in the mirror and confront all that you've ignored, your shadows, your wounds, the parts of you that you've been too afraid to acknowledge. And within that confrontation lies a gift, the chance to choose to either remain stuck or to evolve, to let pain define you or refine you. So, how do you turn your suffering into power? How do you alchemize pain into purpose? Here's a practical framework to begin this transformation. First, shift your mindset. Pain is not a punishment. It's an initiation. Life doesn't give you suffering to break you. It gives you challenges to awaken you. Those who see pain as unfair often remain trapped in bitterness. But those who embrace it as part of the journey emerge stronger than ever. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to evolve. So, stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this here to teach me? Second, transform your story into your power. Look at those who have been through immense suffering, yet have managed to turn their pain into a force for good. People who were rejected and learned to validate themselves. People who were betrayed and discovered the strength of trusting their intuition. People who hit rock bottom and uncovered a power they never knew existed. Your story is uniquely yours, but how you use it is entirely up to you. Third, let pain fuel your purpose. Pain can either destroy you or drive you. It's your decision. If someone hurt you, don't dwell on resentment. Use it as a fire to rise. If life feels unfair, show the world how you can overcome. If you've experienced loss, fill the emptiness with meaning. The most successful people in the world didn't get there because they avoided pain. They got there because they used their pain as a launching pad to greatness. And then comes the final stage, turning pain into wisdom. When you've walked through suffering and truly learned from it, something remarkable happens. You become unshakable. You stop reacting to the negativity of others because you understand that their projections are not yours to carry. You no longer fear pain because you've faced it and survived. You've emerged stronger, wiser, and more grounded in your truth. You become a person with an undeniable presence, someone who radiates quiet strength because you've been through darkness and found your light. This is what Jung referred to as individuation, the sacred process of becoming who you truly are, without masks, without fear, and without needing anything external to validate your worth. And when you reach this point, the emotional cycle of pain begins to dissolve. You no longer define yourself by what hurt you. You don't avoid pain, you welcome it as a teacher, a guide, a signal that you are ready for your next evolution. And then it hits you. Pain didn't make you weaker. It made you invincible. The choice is now in your hands. You know the truth. Pain isn't something you should run from. It's the spark that can ignite your most profound transformation. You have two options: remain stuck in suffering, resisting, feeling like a victim of life's cruelty, or use that same suffering as a springboard to become someone stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever before. Only one of those paths will set you free. So, which path will you choose? As we come to the end of this transformative journey, take a moment to reflect on everything we've explored. Pain is not something to fear or avoid. It's a powerful force for growth and evolution. The moment you stop resisting your pain, you begin to unlock your true potential. What you once thought was a burden becomes a source of strength and wisdom. So, what have you learned today? How will you start to transform your pain into power? I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you've learned in this video and how you plan to apply it to your life. Let's start a conversation about healing and personal growth. If you found this video valuable, please leave a comment below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us create more content that empowers and inspires. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.